So, I just completed Bendy in the Dark Revival, and my reaction was, yes, Alison Pendle, out of the way! Hey, up! What's up, bro? Okay, look at his ass, though. Wait, is it her ass? I don't know whose ass I'm looking at. Pretty mad. Though amongst the endless well of chaos that this sequence was, recurring characters reappearing left and right like someone in the Avengers, one particular man, a music man you could say, stood out to me. Sammy! Yes! Yes, Sammy Lawrence, my guy! Sammy, shut up, buddy. No! No, Sammy! That's right, good old Sammy Lawrence, the minor character that, in my opinion, blows literally everyone else in the Bendy franchise out of the water. Alison Pendle, Bertram Piedmont, Sir Bendy M. Machine? Nah, nothing. They got nothing on this man. Though, before we get into it, I probably need to wrap up the intro so we can actually move on with the structure in this thing. So, standard intro, I'm Cryptid, and I make videos on things I'm passionate about. Now, let's build our machine, discover the art of darkness, and drown ourselves in blood and ink as we discuss this whispering psychopath. Alright, what better place to start than his introduction in the first game, Bendy and the Ink Machine. The first time we see him, he's shrouded in mystery as he gently walks past the door frame of the room we're walking into. Henry calls out to him, asking him for help, yet nothing. He just wanders along, cardboard cutout in hand. This moment is about 10 minutes into the game before you've seen any of the lost ones or anyone at all, depending on whether you got jump scared by Ink Bendy or not. Of course, this being his first scene already sets him up as a mysterious entity. He doesn't scatter or sprint across your vision. His movements are methodical and calculated to the point it's unsettling. You have the ability to process what you're seeing and take notes of his appearance before he disappears. Of course, to the observant players, they may notice the mask over his face, that paired with him carrying a cardboard cutout of the same character he wears to conceal himself. It sets the tone for what's to come later, which I really like. He even whispers the famous line,
"Hello, excuse me, can you help me?"
Unnerving stuff. One final thing about this interaction from a gameplay standpoint is how, to accommodate for Sammy's characteristics, you know, the slow movement and all that, they actively have to slow down the player and sink them into thick ink to keep them from whacking him with an axe. It gives him an unconscious sense of importance that, though not outwardly prevalent, sits in the back of your mind as a mental note while you get through the upcoming puzzle section. To round this off is how they put us, the player, into a weak position to give him the antagonist vibe off the bat. As I mentioned, Henry asks Sammy for help, and he ignores. Needless to say, the creepy kooky vibe he's known for is beginning to summon itself here. The next time we see Sammy, he has a larger presence in the game. We flip a switch for the pump control, and slowly but surely make our way back to the music room. Tension builds as it seems nothing's actually happened after flipping the switch. There was no noise, no rattling, or even a slight creak. Rather, there was a lack of noise in comparison to before. We make it back, or so we think, as Henry stops dead in his tracks, his vision blurs, and he attempts to turn around, but passes out before he can get a sight of the force that did this to him. Everything fades to black, and we hear a voice. Ignoring the subtitles, we hear a distinct, well-punctuated whispering voice. Immediately a great thing to take note of, as one of the greatest techniques I've found in effectively revealing a character is allowing the player to hear them first. Obviously, we'd seen Sammy before, but it was a side profile. It didn't give too much away about his actual appearance. Now, he's here in all his glory, so it's better that we have some visual air to stimulate our ears first before our eyes get a feast on his design. Then, of course, we get an eyeful of his form. His stature is that of just a normal guy. There's nothing really special about him in particular on the surface. He's just some guy with an axe, nothing more. It's when he rambles on some more that we get a taste of his motivations and the thought process. As he rambles, like I said, it's clear that all that ink he's smoking's gone to his head. It's like a crackhead worshipping coke. He's quite open to his intense love for the ink demon. As much as I I'd love to say get a room, he has more to say, and you bloody bet he won't let us get a single word in. The odd thing about his yapping is it feels oddly intimate. It could be his emphasis on every syllable of every word, or the whispering that alone is seen as more personal than just spouting nonsense in a normal tone. It's confusing. It kind of paints the picture of eavesdropping on a mental breakdown. Common experience, I know, right? With every word, the pops and clicks of the inflections become more apparent, almost aggressive. It's as if he's building up to some sort of crescendo we fail to acknowledge. See what I did there with crescendo? Music director, music. One noticeable thing about Sammy I find is his overwhelming self-assurance in his own thoughts. The emphatic tone of "he will set us free" shows his true fall from grace, once a regular human with hopes and dreams, now a vessel for the ink demon to puppet and spread his carnage through words. There's no denying Sammy's made a difference with his teachings. I mean, he literally had an entire gang of searchers waiting to attack you in his boss fight, so I'd bet his influence spreads further than we think. He does definitely give the deranged vibe here though. The way he draws out certain words such as freed and adds pauses between prison and dark show his restraint against saying such words. He also goes absolutely mad on the repetition, such as crawling, and the way that he says it, how he raises his pitch up his register, cracking it out of pure focus on the meaning behind the word, as opposed to saying the word itself. He's also animated quite interestingly, a mix of that calm demeanor with flowing movements as I mentioned earlier, but as he delves deeper into his soul, or what's left of it, how he truly feels, that act is shattered and his actions become more sporadic and jittery. Always love some visual storytelling, never fails to impress me, and such a treat to gaze at. He leaves the room and hops on the radio. Whether this is a pre-recorded message or not, it's still endlessly unsettling, and a great end to his introduction. He praises the ink demon and calls his name in summoning, and that's when we, the player, realise he's trapped us in here for sacrifice, to set himself free, the selfish bastard. This can go one of two ways. One, the player feels slight empathy for him as he's desperately attempted to crawl out and escape. Hell, even death would even suffice for him. It's a case of understanding as opposed to advocating for, and quite honestly, if you found a guy and knew you could sacrifice him and it'd let you out of this prison you've been trapped in for years, I'm sure you'd consider it, especially being as brainwashed as he is. On the other hand, number two, the player's opinion is more, man, what an absolute prick trying to sacrifice me for some ink monster. And brave statement incoming, both are pretty valid. Then his dreams are crushed as the ink demon appears and fittingly crushes him to perceive death. Phew, all done, right? He's dead, end of the video, yay, but oh boy, does this man come back several times. Dubbed the William Afton of the Bendy franchise, as we'll see, this time jump will remind you he's not so easily killed. Hop on over to chapter 5, you hop off your boat and wander across this oddly open area and over to the place with a bunch of sticky notes with handprints on it for some reason. Try and walk through, and oh, yes, Sammy's back. He's not too happy with us as he realizes who we truly are, which is confusing to the player because what do you want about? Who are you? Audio logs revealing your past? What are those? So yeah, unless you read the audio logs, Sammy's gone even more rogue than ever. And it's now your fault. Yeah, it's your fault, and you're left with a mix of shock and confusion as this paper plate for a face looking guy charges at you axe first. Either way, whether you listen to the logs or not, the reaction he forces out of you is pricelessly fitting either way. Mostly, as I mentioned, it's shock and confusion, which throws you off guard from the get-go, or you did listen to the tapes, fucking nerd. Then I can only imagine you get this sort of sorrow feeling when he shows up. Oh, you listened to the tapes. Ooh. Though, in all seriousness, you understand a bit more about his past and know he's an innocent man, yet you're forced to bring yourself to kill him, so I suppose that path comes with more emotion. Either way, it works to the extent that it should, regardless of whichever path you took. Now, as for our first and only humanoid boss in the game, he does well from a gameplay perspective. He seems like a real threat, especially with his minions popping in and out all over the place. The fight feels varied in that sense, and the aforementioned idea that Sammy has all this influence that he can summon these ink creatures at will gives him an edge further on the fear scale. You knock his mask off and he cries like a baby, eventually grappling onto you and showing his faceless, well, face. It's unsettling to think he's literally and figuratively so empty, and although you know that's a mask, he wears it all the time, so seeing him without it, despite his tight grasp around your neck, makes him seem weak. Well anyway, we then give him a taste of his own medicine once again as Tom whacks him square in the head with an axe. The inflection was wrong on that sentence. We then get in a brawl with the searchers and all that stuff, all Sammy related, but nothing too Sammy if you catch my drift. Moving on to Dark Revival, where Sammy plays a significantly lesser role despite being planned to have his own significant cameo in the game. Though, don't fret, he's still in the damn thing, and I have a few things to expand upon regarding his portrayal. The first time you see Sammy, it's chills. Absolute chills. Oh, a thingamajig. There we go. Sweet. It's Sammy. No way. Oh, yes. My boy, Sammy Lawrence. It's nice to see you again, bro. Hey, I was like, can we get a jump scare or something? Can we get an amen? Can we get a jump scare where he shows up? But I feel like this is the justice given. The thing is, though, you've seen hundreds of lost ones throughout the game up to this point, all bipedal inky blobs running around the place. But the moment you see this guy, with his bald head and oddly non-Cthulhu looking mouth, you recognize him in an instant. There's just something about the way he pricks at the strings of his banjo carefully, pausing between each pluck and slowly alternating between strings. He just looks so peaceful, yet oddly calculated and driven, as if he's waiting to be freed, that any day now would be let out or escape, free to roam around again and preach his prayers. The best bit I find about his appearance here is it's absolutely optional. There's no obligation nor much hinting as to where to find him, same with Bertram's head, you just end up stumbling across it on your own, and that adds a little more beauty to the scene, as it feels like an insight into his everyday life, when he's not whispering in desperation or screaming his inky lungs out trying to summon a demon. Pretty majestic in my opinion. Seriously. The next and final time we see him is in the finale. As you may remember from the clip I played at the beginning, I was excited about his appearance, to say the least. Yes, Sammy Lawrence, my guy! Sammy, shut up, buddy. No! No, Sammy! I suppose that proves my reason for making this video. I just seem to love Sammy, and now I have to go in depth as to why. Thanks, guys. Well, I feel the atmosphere of this scene really sets up how Sammy's uprise is going to be received, as it's literally an Avengers Assemble moment, as all of the marketable characters appear one by one in unison. Alison Pendle fans, check. Tom fans, check. Henry fans, check. Heidi fans, for some reason, check. Everyone's here, and they've all had some moment of personality to round off their characters and call back to their characteristics as we know them. Sammy showing up here was an absolute given, and depending on how much you like him as a character, your reaction will vary, though I think I speak for everyone when his overdramatic antics return and his tone is wild and high-pitched, that it's so epic. Well, better this time, since he's literally worshipping us, or rather, what he thinks we are. I appreciate the devs for writing this, and Sammy himself as a character, to just be as crazy and hog-wild as possible. It's always entertaining to see a character show up that's just insane for the sake of it, and to make him actually fit in the world too, that's just a bonus. Ultimately, I appreciate Sammy in these games as he's presented as some blind semi-antagonist that doesn't care about anything else other than the Ink Demon, and that sets him up to be such comic relief from a writing perspective, as a character with such focused and brainwashed goals can be manipulated in other areas such as mood, tone, pitch, and let's face it, wackiness. And to top it all off, his worship to us followed by a piercing railing of pure American iron through the heart and a Wilhelm scream as his final words. Just such a fun and oddly hilarious end to an equally odd and hilarious character. So that's how he's portrayed in the game itself, and I could go into all the other lore, but quite honestly, I couldn't give two clown boots about the novels and spin-offs, and although I could analyze his portrayal in terms of the audio logs, unfortunately I don't have 3 hours spare to do so. Therefore, it's time to move on to the next section, his character, a departure from his portrayal, as we're simply discussing the features that make him so appealing to me personally. Now, I don't know how long this segment's gonna be, so I'll be firing off some of my honest opinions about Sammy as a character, and what I like/dislike about the guy. Spoiler alert, the dislike part is empty. So, to start, I adore his voice. There's something about the specifics in the pronunciation, and the unwavering intent to quiver and raise his pitch when things get a bit too much that scratch that specific itch. You know the one, that tingling itch in the depths of your eardrum, the one that ASMR usually stimulates for people. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, his voice is totally ASMR, there's no doubt about it. I think it boils down to the whispering, to be honest with you, though the way it's spun from calming to creepy is imperative to mention here. Unnerving, unsettling, these are all buzzwords to describe the voice of this man, and they all fit perfectly. It fits the archetype of a cult leader, shrouded in mystery, extremely hush-hush about everything, doesn't let any information escape his grasp, and has everyone wrapped around his finger. Though, ultimately, as we see firsthand, cult leaders aren't the most physically or hierarchically strong individuals, as time and time again his ego gets the better of him, and he's off back to the dark puddles once more. Though of course, his voice never leaves him, constantly having the feeling of tension, holding back a greater and louder evil. Yet as we discussed a second ago, whatever restraint this chaos is under is about as thin as the hair of a bald man. Next, his design. Pretty sick, if I do say so myself. The biggest eye catcher, of course, his mask. A lifeless, unmoving, unemotional, bendy face, staring blankly while Sammy's real face, whatever's left of it, hides underneath. It's a visual representation of his devotion to Bendy and the Ink Demon as both a concept and a living being. I've said this countless times, but man, as if the voice wasn't enough to give the cult vibe, the absolute marvel that is the visual storytelling, immediately communicating to us, the player, that Sammy is one of Bendy's followers. Absolute perfection. Oh, time and time again, the importance of visual storytelling, yet how tough it can be to pull off at times, has shown its head on this channel, and I can't emphasize enough how much I applaud Joey Drew Studios, not the one in the game, the real one, for this decision. The mask immediately gives the vibe of a man speaking through the eyes of another, brainwashed to think he's making a difference, while his true self is helplessly crying out to be set free. The mask is literally and figuratively used as a mask, as we would describe it in society today, utilized in a way that it hides the user's true emotions, clearing them a blank slate and taking over with a new, fake persona. And if you couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of mask representation in media, and I enjoy how every piece I look at takes the idea and adapts it in a different way. Some use their jobs to put on larger-than-life facades, others suck it up for the sake of others, and here with Sammy, he shields himself from acknowledging the existential fear he has of being trapped forever by clinging onto something more than him, more than he will ever be. It gives him a sense of confidence in my eyes that allow him to move past, or rather ignore, his fears and just go straight bananas because of it. Let's speak on the ink, since while the Lost Ones take a Cthulhu-looking archetype with dangling, what are they, ball sacks? Is that the best I could come up with? Damn. Hanging from their face in exchange of mouths with vaguely human-looking traits, Sammy just straight up looks like a living mannequin. While all other ink enemies have some distinct trait that can separate them from us, Sammy doesn't have that. As we see in Dark Revival, without the mask, Sammy is, well, Black Slenderman, case in point. His face is toned with holes where his eyes once were, his nose is shaped and distinct, and what's left of his lips remain dormant, never manipulating themselves to speak. It's as if the ink was playing with him. He speaks from beyond his face, from deep in his soul, none of his facial features moving one bit, yet he looks so human. It's not practical, there's no use for the specific design. The mask was enough of a difference from the other characters in the game. His head structure was just a bonus. It feels like a deliberate attempt to look more anthropoid and relatable, and personally, I'm all for it. When have I not been? As for the suspenders, I like them. They're distinct, easy to recognize, and an interesting addition. They scream old country singer, don't you think? Like a rootin' tootin' 50-year-old dad. Plays the banjo on his front porch overlooking his ranch, all that stuff. With that in mind, it's kind of a juxtaposition to see him wear something like that and then present himself as the complete opposite of what I just said. Hillbilly clothes, sure, but you're telling me he doesn't have a beer belly and his accent is pronounced and posh sounding, far from rugged and southern? You must be mad. Sammy, mate, Why do you wear all this shit? It's confusing. Oh, yeah, and I'm an idiot. I completely forgot his axe. Another way of humanizing him, since he's damn good at swinging this thing. What I enjoy the most about it is how it's not seen as a weapon, more of a sacrificial tool. Did I do that justice? I think I did. I hope I did. Since he thinks that he will be set free if Henry gets sacrificed to the ink. Therefore, he tries his best to eliminate him by whatever means necessary, and that's where the axe comes in. His entire plan is a twisted religious offering. Bendy is his god, and Henry is the lamb.
That was a lamb to the slaughter reference.
Also, back to the humanizing aspect, he's the only minor antagonist that differs from the rest in the weapon field. No other ink creature in the game wields a weapon the way he does. Hell, no other creature wields one to begin with. He's the only one that retains enough of his former self to use something man-made and not twistedly inkified. His stature being on par in strength, if not stronger than Henry, with his muscular build, matching height and axe, makes him a worthy opponent, and as I mentioned, a form of relatability, opening ways to entice empathy in the player. I have nothing but love for this guy, and I'm sure many of you watching also do, so why not talk about that next? What did the fandom at large think of his introduction? So, fandoms, particularly Mascot horror fandoms, are a mess. In both positive and negative ways. One thing I can say about them, especially the Bendy fandom, is that they're downright mad and don't hesitate to leap onto any new characters introduced or reintroduced, ready in their tinfoil hats, ready for theorizing, and their arthritis-ridden hands for cosplaying. They're absolutely rabid for a character with a hint of mystery. Enter Sammy Lawrence, a character that was practically engineered to be a fan favorite based on these criteria, and sure enough, this man blew up in the fandom. He's the middle ground between creepy searcher looking guy and a humanoid character with complex emotions and feelings, even though I did just say that he's quite one-dimensional. The fans enjoyed having a character that was morally dubious and overall a villainous character, yet had a soul, buried deep in the depths of his being, mind you, yet he had one nonetheless. I'm more than positive people enjoy how easily attached you can get to his motivations, mannerisms, and backstory, as having a character that's so intriguing on the surface, luring you in further towards the concept of him as a character, only to reveal all of his secrets and layers once you're already invested, is a recipe for a beloved individual. Many fans regard his voice as the real kicker of his character, described as, and I quote, lyrical and slightly melodious in a way that's fitting for a music composer, which, myself, I couldn't agree more with, nor could I word it any better. Though, on a broader fandom perspective, it makes absolute sense why this is the thing that draws people to him the most. I mean, it's the first thing you learn about him, how his voice sounds, and most of the original monologue is that, a monologue. It's based around the speech, and with that being a main focus, it's no wonder fans were enthralled in it, and in a similar sense, found it hot. I mean, say what you want to say, but just so you know, I agree with you completely. An important thing, as someone who still has the countless Bendy lore explained video essays sat in his watch later, is how he connects to the wider plane of the story. Apparently, while Joey Drew Studios went downhill, budgets were cut, actors were fired, etc., Sammy stayed. I can only assume that that level of loyalty rubbed off on the fans and made them even more drawn to him as a character, and I'm pretty sure 99% of people would want a friend, or something more, to be loyal, and Sammy's as loyal as they come. Shit, I said come.
Listen, I'm sorry I gotta do this to you.
And apparently, his ties with the main plot of the original game, you know, the Ink Machine, make him even more appealing. He ties the story together in ways I don't quite understand, to be honest. According to this dear Reddit user I've milked the hell out of by now, he's the one who makes us aware that behind each ink creature is a real human soul, allowing us to humanize them some more. Doesn't mean I won't be killing them though, ha! Furthermore, his odd sense of humor is apparently appealing. Okay, I agree, but still. He comes across as witty, yet mad scientist crazy, and his supposed care for other entities in the cycle, giving them hope that they will someday be set free, keeps people in tune with his character, and overall thinking he's a great guy. Unfortunately, that great guy has been infected by a hellish curse and misdirected motivations. I would like to mention his simplicity from a design perspective. The mask is arguably the most detailed thing about him material-wise. The only other issue, especially in cosplay, is doing the face paint to make yourself look like you have the cartoon aesthetic, if you're picking up what I'm laying down here. Other than that, I mean, that's more of a game design thing. Sammy, he walks in here, is simple and, most importantly, incredibly fun-looking to draw, which is a huge thing in character design. If you're looking to build a character, make it look interesting enough that someone says, "Damn, that looks hella fun to draw." No artist sounds that masculine. And honestly, it cures the majority of issues with blandness from a visual point of view. Also, I don't know if the fans enjoy this or not, but the fact that he's a damn music composer, is that not insane to anyone else? You do understand what this is insinuating, right? Sammy can sing, people. That's right. This means that any TikTok song you overlay over animatics of him is now officially canon, as he can, in fact, sing at the highest degree. Though being a composer doesn't necessarily mean you can sing, but anyway, shut up, let me have this. Oh, and yeah, dude straight up doesn't die, just... And that ties to his meme potential. You bet Bendy fans meme the hell out of Sammy for just being a psychopath. Fair enough. This man is memed through the 7 rings and back, but you bet that doesn't mean they don't love him to bits and get all, ooh, kiss over his character at the end of the day. It's an odd relationship the fans have with him, you know? That they meme him to death one second, yet love him unconditionally the next. It's a hilarious duality that basically sums up why I love the Bendy fandom for the little time I've been aware of it, like 2 days. Ultimately, I love Sammy as a character, and he's my favorite Bendy character overall. I hope this video does some justice, and definitely goes in depth on how I appreciate him as a character. I could say leagues more, as with the rest of my videos, but I'm alright with 20 minutes. I can't go an hour again, no one watched that one. So, if you want to see me, as well as my friend Sahil, put all the other Bendy characters on a tier list, there it is, on screen right now. Go check it out. Alongside that is my me-side analysis, where I delve deep into the depths of this odd psychological horror thingy. I was gonna make a joke about how no one watched it, but it's got 1 million views, don't be ridiculous. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Stay positive. No, stay positive. Gabba!